Okay, now let's go to functionality that is grouped into ribbons, as already mentioned in other videos. But now let's have a walkthrough. What ribbons do we even have there? I also have an ANSA open, which is here, version 24.1 that is, so as to compare ourselves for what is where. Okay, so I will try to help you out in that. So let's go. First of all, I would recommend you to hit this button here, this three-dotted button that gives you, let's say, an overview of all the ribbons that exists and grouped into these categories of ribbons: geometry, mesh, morph, model, analysis, okay, tools, and customization. Okay, the first two ribbons, which are under the category geometry, sketch 3D and geometry. This is there for covering functionality that we were familiarized in finding under classic topo toolset, that would be in that version. Okay, so hot points, contours, faces manipulation. So this kind of functionality has become available into these two ribbons over here, sketch 3D and geometry, where sketch 3D is mainly for the supporting entities, points and curves, generate new or manipulate existing ones. Geometry is there for manipulating geometry, surfaces, that is, generate new faces, healing operation, cleanup, that kind of stuff. All right, then let's go to the next, the meshing tool sets. Okay, here we have 5 entries. The first one is the mid-surfacing entry. That is this one here. This, okay, now let's, this collects functionality that relates to mid-surfacing overall. Okay, so comparing with the older ANSA version 24, we have the mid-surfacing operation under topo, which was over here. The skin operation, casting, align management, and so on. This functionality was over here. And there was also functionality that people were using under the classic mesh menu. And for some of you that were familiarized with the classic toolsets, we also had the classic toolset called middle mesh, which also included functionality in the domain of mid-surfacing. So all these elements combined have been gathered in this ribbon that we call mid-surface. We have placed it in quite a prominent location since it collects quite strong functionality, we believe, and that deserve the whole ribbon. So here we have the mid-surface man. Okay, we continue with surface mesh and volume mesh, which resembles, okay, I guess no surprises here. We have the classic mesh toolset or the volume mesh toolsets, which were previously in the previous version split it up into tetra mesh and hexa penta mesh. Okay, now we have the surface mesh menu, which is over here, and the ribbon for volume meshing is at this place. There you are. Okay. Other mesh related tool sets is the Hexa block. Okay. For following the meshing of volumes using Hexa block logic, and the Retopology functionality, which is there for manipulating topology optimization results, for instance, and designing new geometry or new reshaping that result within functionality specially designed for that purpose. Retopology is a new ribbon, but nevertheless, elements of that functionality existed scattered around into tool sets as well. Like, for example, just for those of you that would be interested in that, for example, OptiMesh is one of the key functions of that domain, or suppress and things like that. This is functionality that now is, over here. OptiMesh, polish, and removing of artifacts. Okay, so that was a walkthrough of the mesh ribbons. Let's go to Morph. Morph is split up into two ribbons, direct morphing and box morphing with utilizing boxes. Okay, this is the equivalent of the direct morphing toolset, or if we go based on the classic morphing toolset, okay, whatever functionality is pretty much here under the direct morphing functionality. All right, and whatever relates with boxes, okay, is under the box morphing ribbon. There you go. That was about morphing. Okay, little shortcut, middle mouse button on the ribbon title, and you knock that particular ribbon away. Okay. Morph model is under model. We have the assembly ribbon collecting some of the assembly related functionality like creation of welds and connectors and assembly points. And under model, we also have this ribbon of functionality that is, of more, some more generic utilities like the deck reporting, checks, cutting planes, unit conversion module, and so on. This is, there will be more functionality coming under that in the versions to come. Let's go to the analysis ribbons now. So, in the analysis ribbons, what we do have is functionality and features that relate to whatever we had in previous versions under the world of decks. Okay, so all these functions and buttons that you see over here, this is what is supposed to be under these analysis ribbons. And what you will see under these analysis ribbons is that, there is no longer a strong connection anymore with the particular solver deck that we had. This has actually been split up into two different, these are two different entities now. So the way the solver, the way that ANSA expresses the keywords that we are having into our model, okay, that is set up with this setting over there here at the top right hand corner with the deck that is currently active. Okay, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is all these keywords that I see here. For example, if I look at a particular property, like this property here, okay, this is now expressed in the way that Nastran solver would expect its syntax to be. Well, if I change that into LSDyna, okay, as you see, the ribbon structural is still there, it's still in apply. I simply switched into LSDyna, which has now the effect that the same property, okay, is now expressed in its LSDyna language. Okay, now I see its LSDyna expression. And in that way, this new setup, this new logic allows us to combine a specific set of functionalities with any given solver deck that is. And as you see, the specific functionality of that ribbon, okay, helps me understand also which one is compatible with that. So if I go for the structural tool sets of functions for palm crash simulation, for the palm crash solver, then there are specific functions not available and not compatible with that. For those of you looking the exact equivalent in the previous ANSA version, okay, there was this analysis tools over here. Okay, analysis tools where the functionality was kind of grouped and tried to categorize in that manner. But nevertheless, in this layout here in the version 25, it became a more prominent, much more space is given into it, and you see all the functionality that becomes available over here. The logic of which, let me switch to one I'm more familiarized. So Nast run, for example, and structural. Okay, so the logic is that the functionality is grouped in such a way that it goes from starting with manipulating the basic solver related entities like boundary conditions and coordinate systems and things like that, low level modeling options, up until the solver initiation, running the solver simulation, and performing even some basic post simulation actions. And also all the functionality going from left to right is in making the model progressing towards running the simulation at the end of my actions. All right, so the analysis tool set, that's the logic that follows this. Let's have a look under tools. So we have under tools, we have the functionality that relates to views and the access to virtual and augmented reality equipment so that you can look at your models with that. There's a special documentation that helps you understand how to check this out, how to make this work. Development is the access to whatever relates to the generation of scripts. So here you have, for instance, the script editor access. Okay? This is where you can find the script editor and the running of functions. Collaboration is for collaboration tools. Like if you connect two ANSAs with each other, then you can have extended functionality that allows you to chat with people, make some sketches, do some reporting. And let's move to the next subject now.